question as to what might be happening with that. Yes, there we go. He's not comfortable, is he?
No, I don't think so. And he was already almost dropped at the last time out this climb. So he does seem to be one of the least comfortable riders in this break. And maybe, well, of course, the handlebars dropping is not helping that.
He's also still in the big ring, I think, as well. So I wonder if something's happened with the cable and the gears as well, with the handlebars taking a blow. Might be why I've been swinging.
Yeah, I don't know. He's still doing a pretty decent cadence. It's not like he's well, when we see Morgado again, I think, and now being responded to by Huizing, and that's the other favorite for the Dutch team. Already quite early on to see these favorites on the move, but some of the other favorites not quite responding yet.
Fascinating. Getting towards the halfway point of this race. Morgado, Huizing, and the Norwegians with a rider trying to follow as well. A Colombian rider's trying to get across as well, but struggling. Under Mount Pleasant. Yeah, it's less pleasant each time they're along. Now he's actually, I think, managed to get down on the little ring there. Let's have a look. Yes, better news.
Yeah, it does look like it, but still those handlebars don't look too comfortable. I think he's still okay to ride in the drops, but of course with this new kind of positioning, you want to be on the hoods, and certainly when you're riding in the wind, to get down a little bit lower, and that doesn't seem to be very easy for him at the moment. So, but on the other hand, it is sort of an excuse for him to sit at the back, maybe saying, "Got a mechanical problem. You know, I won't participate in the riding," and that might save him some energy. Of course, the handling is not going to be great with the handlebars in a different position than you're used to.
And he'll be conscious of that, certainly if he saw the crash coming up here on the first lap as well. Well, this is where we are, turning around and heading back to the coast in a moment. Just over a minute at the last check between the leaders and what was left of the peloton. Already had several non-finishers. An attritional race, and it seems a sort of circuit where you are going to get attrition on every single lap. We will see. Look at the size of this peloton. It looks as though that's Kristen chasing on. Second wheel here to the German rider. Oh, well, the gap is starting to reduce. Interesting. 38 seconds now. Gap is seesawing as we've got the neutral service car in between. Managed to move up there. And Eckerstoffer with that mechanical problem. Just he's got issue with his handlebars pointing down. Just sitting on the back for now. You can see Novak, who was part of the very early move with Pajur. And it's Walker who leads them around the corner. Another retiree, I'm afraid. A 102 from Morocco. He was struggling on lap one, wasn't he? We saw him out the back. Ashraf El Kurmi is a non-finisher, I'm afraid. And that's that for his road race. The weather's brightening up a little bit. And this is the lead. Walker, Payur, Novak, Schmidt and Moore. Two riders from USA, and they're accompanied by Eckerstoffer of Austria. He's just sitting on the back ring, 76 there. The only rider in that red and black kit of Österreich, Austria, in this particular race. Chasers getting the gap back down to 35 seconds. And what was the peloton really has exploded. It's such an elite group now behind. Talked about maybe lack of teammates before. There's certainly lack of that now. Not many nations have more than one rider in here. Those that do have two or three at the very max. Now at the front, this is interesting. Artem Schmidt just off the back. 36 seconds here, and Jens, we've seen a real thinning down of everything at the front of the race and in the peloton. Schmidt just losing a little bit of contact before working to get back on. They've lost quite a bit of their lead as well. It's down to 33 seconds down behind what was the peloton. Well, it's now a select group of 20, 25 riders chasing.
Yeah, I mean, the pace is high, and I think every climb we go further into this race, every lap, it's going to get worse. Riders will get tired, and you know, it's the favorites moving more and more. That climb is really difficult, and a lot of these juniors will be able to handle maybe 2 or 3 attempts at the climb, and then, you know, at the fourth climb, it's just going to be too much for them, and they'll have to let a gap go. And we're really seeing sort of the main favorites plus a few outsiders still in that group. Maybe a bit of a surprise here and there, but they'll still have some work to do to get back to these 6 leaders.
Halfway through the race now, and this is flying on. We just saw another rain shower, didn't we, around 15 minutes or so ago, 20 minutes ago. That has cleared up again, but the roads are wet, and the racing is going to continue like this towards the end. Not too much time to sit in a bunch and get helped along by teammates in this race. It's almost been every ride of themselves, and here we go again.
It does look in this, I'd almost call it a first peloton, but it looks like the riders are more thinking about it as a sort of a breakaway, because they're continuing to turn around to, everyone seems to be participating in the riding as well, so it's interesting developments.
Number 59 there at the back, Michael Leonard's been in the news all day. Ineos Grenadiers have announced the signing of another teenager. Josh Tarling, of course, joining them start of next year, and there's a pattern that's really developing, certainly in that team, of signing riders in their teens. Michael Leonard is set to be seen as somebody who can maybe develop on the GC front. That's certainly what the press communique said and his interview said. He's delighted to have been picked up by a big team, and 3-year contract to start up. I know the minimum for somebody turning professional is 2, but a 3-year contract to Michael Leonard, I should say, pardon me. Michael Leonard turning professional, the Canadian, and he's in that chase group that is gaining seconds almost by the pedal stroke. It was 36, it's now 31, and as I finish the phrase, it's 30, 70 Ks to go, and we're coming up to the point where there will be 4 laps remaining.
Yeah, Michael Leonard hasn't really ridden so many races this year, riding a lot in Italy for the team Franco Ballerini, so not one of the really big international teams, and but he has won a few races in Italy, and yeah, I mean, I think the signing by Ineos, the fact that he's being signed is more of a sign of what a sort of talent he is, because you don't get a 3-year contract at age 18 at Ineos if you're not really good. So or if you can't be really good, you don't have to be necessarily. There's obviously that sort of team also exists to develop riders and make them into what they can be. And Leonard maybe not had the big results as junior yet, because not racing too many really big Nations Cup races and stuff, but they've seen something special there, I assume, because just do that, signing someone up to a World Tour contract if it's not a special rider.
Yeah, you obviously get to know somebody's coach, you have a look at the numbers they do, and I guess that's where it really starts, and you can then make sure that you get the racing experience on the road. Again, I don't think we're expecting Michael Leonard to come along and win the Tour de France next year, but he will be on the Ineos Grenadiers, and of course he will be a man to watch as we see one of the chase groups here. That's number 21 from Italy, Dario Belletta. Teammate just in front of him, and that teammate is Matteo Scalco. Number 44 here is Daniel Lima, and this is one of the groups that's behind the main chasing group.
Yeah, I think that was that second group.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little bit off the back of the first group, so Peloton sort of split in two, and still a lot of riders dropped off the back of the Peloton.
4 laps to go. 28 seconds for this chase group, for the group over the chase group. See, Emil Herzog is in this group chasing on, and it is the main chase group, the one we mentioned that Leonard was in. I see that Vlad van Mechelen is in there as well. Eritrea have missed this, and they're one of the nations desperately trying to pedal back on to make sure that the two chasing groups get back together. Now this looks like the Colnago of Jan Christen.
Yeah, it definitely does, and it's the real favourites now moving, and it's interesting because there's still 68 kilometres to go, and I think in most races you'd sort of expect that it's the maybe sort of the second line favourites, the outsiders, going at 68 kilometres to go, but this is the new style of racing. We move early, and that's the way to win nowadays. So I mean, I think we can be very happy about it, because we have to stay up for the night, and that's much easier if this racing is really exciting.
Well, we've just seen the slowest lap so far, but of course, we're halfway into the race. Just under 68 kilometres remain. Less than 4 laps now. Walker, the British champion. Payot, the Estonian star. Novak, who almost missed his start time the other day. Schmidt and Moore, the 2 riders from the USA. And Eckhoff, the only man from Austria in the race, lead. They had a minute and 5 maximum gap. It's now down to 23 seconds with many of the other favourites in the group chasing on. A reminder that for Merler and Tarling in this group on the left, and I think that might be that.
Yeah, Van der Meulen as well here in this group, and they look to be hurt. You see that elbow is sticking out in a weird angle on Max van der Meulen. Tarling also, that sort of crash, it takes a lot out of you, and it's unfortunate for these riders. Tarling, of course, already has the title, and I think he can look back on that with a bit of happiness, but also disappointment here, and probably a lot of pain as well.
Well, we talked about Michael Leonard going to the Ineos Grenadiers. Tarling was announced quite a while ago. He has since taken a rainbow jersey this week as the World Time Trial Champion. He's out of the race, and Zach Walker remains the only British representative really anywhere near the front.
I think Jed Smithson for the British team is still in that first peloton at, what was it, around 30 seconds, maybe a little bit less already. And, that's the 3 representatives for Great Britain.
Those cars are being pulled out the gap, and that, I guess, for any bike racer, Jens, that's never a good feeling.
No, it's a sign, and yeah, you realize that a group is coming back, someone's coming back anyway, and yeah, they'll have some kind of confirmation of what the gap's been doing. You know, the motorbike with the signs on there usually come past, and I haven't quite seen them yet, but I assume they are there, and the riders are being informed of what the gaps are doing, and they're certainly coming down now.
The rain still coming down in the hills. Let's hope it stays away from town. Two chasing groups came back together, and we're now getting into attacks again. Germany on the move. Portugal yet again.
And also a rider for the Czech Republic in the wheel, trying to control. And here is Tarling.
And off he goes. Josh.
You know, suspicious about it. I'm not sure. I think he's still in the group, but certainly saw a couple of Dutch riders abandoning already.
Yeah, we'll call what we see as we see it. It's such a chaotic race out there. We're moving now from the halfway stage, and after this lap we'll be heading towards the finale.
Well, you say heading towards, but yeah, I think we've already seen the start of the final, really, because the favourites are on the move. There's a few outsiders of the road already. I
have to say the French team has great numbers still in this chase. There are 4 riders here.
Yeah, the French team is really a team with a lot of depth. Maybe not really that one favourite who's going to finish it off, but of course, if you've got enough numbers, then there's still a chance that you can work over the other riders who maybe don't have the teammates to counter that. And the interesting thing is they haven't really worked at the front of the peloton either, so they're sort of trying to play the smart game. And I mean, so far it's working. This gap is down to half a minute. Was a minute. And they really haven't spent that much energy chasing, so the French team might be the smart ones in this race.
Thomas Leclerc might be very happy with what she's seeing. I can tell you, I managed to identify 3 of the 4 riders. Thibaut Gruel was there, as was Leandre Lazoué and Mathis Grisel.
Yeah, I think looking at the timing sheet, actually all 5 riders are still there,
Wow.
At least 4 of them. And, well, it's an impressive performance, I think, just to manage to not get caught in one of the crashes or anything else. It's impressive.
Another group off the front of those chasers. The gap had just grown. Maybe while they got together and had a little look around at exactly who was going to do the work. Of course, it's been like that on every approach to the climb, hasn't it, so far?
Yeah, it continues to be aggressive. It's the second Estonian rider still in the race, Van Gaal Ragilo. You see the Scott bike for Team DSM, where he's headed next year. The development team, of course, not the World Tour team quite yet. But one of those riders with a long-term contract at one of the World Tour development teams. So, yeah.
Australia, good to see. We want success for the home nation. Of course, we're watching everything on 2 wheels here over the weekend, but it's not the only sport that's on. If tennis is your thing, or even if you're just a general sports fan, you'll want to watch this. Tomorrow it's the Laver Cup, brainchild of the man who plays his last game. Yes, one of the greats of all time, Roger Federer, playing with another of the greats of all time. He's going to play one last doubles match. Roger Federer, Rafa Nadal in doubles action, and that will be on Friday. Check your schedules, check your territory restrictions, but across the Discovery networks you'll be able to see the Laver Cup. And for one final time, the last dance for Roger Federer. That's the Flagstaff Hill Lighthouse. Ah, and a visitor looking on. Tell you what, I hope he's not listening to the race announcer at the finish, because if he's one of those that repeats everything, he might be getting it for the next year that there's a lap to go.
Well, we've had some news about the birds in Australia. Of course,
we certainly have. Don't ask Balka.
Didn't have a great time this week with the birds, being attacked by a magpie, of course, quite famous in Australia for attacking cyclists, and running into a seagull during the recon of the mixed relay.
And that's before he started and had the nightmare, well, next meme, let's say. Don't want to get into too much trouble with mechanics and things like that, but he was already the focus of one, wasn't he? Poor old Balka. It wasn't the Dutch team's day, but there's plenty of racing left. Now then, it's splitting up behind. Eritrea trying to make sure that they're represented, and we've got another, the French. That's Paul Magny. Paul Magny in the chase there.
Yes, I have to correct. There's 4 riders in the peloton still, and now it does seem like 2 of them are going up the road in this. What's that third group on the road? In fact, I think, because this is the second group. We saw some attacks from the peloton trying to form a third group. So lots of moves happening still, and it really hasn't slowed down this race.
So, confirmation of this group. Rogers is there for Australia. Novak for Slovakia with Kadlec. Morgado, yes, Morgado yet again. And Ragilo, who was there for Estonia. Rogers, of course, son of a former professional and nephew of a former 3-time world time trial champion. Rogers. Leaders are coming up Dumfries Avenue again. 4th from last time. That first chasing group you saw is at 41 seconds, so the gap's grown a little bit again. And then the next group at just under a minute. There they are.
Now we've seen that pattern quite a lot, that the gap seems to go out on the flat part just after the finish, and then it seems to come back on the climb, maybe just after the climb. It's quite an obvious pattern. It's interesting that really not much changes from lap to lap, except that now we've really got a few riders off the front. I think there's at least maybe 15 or 20 riders off the front of this group, and maybe even more than in the group itself.
I can tell you that Menno Hersing is in fact still in the race. I've just spotted him. Looking good, actually, at the back of that group alongside Pau Martí, remaining Spanish representative. A lad who dreams of winning Paris-Roubaix. Not too common for a Spaniard, but he hopes to be a classics man.
These are some interesting moves, because I think Emil Herzog has gone up the road now, as we see Dario Belletta being dropped once again. Herzog going up the road. Kristen seemed to be responding, so we're really getting into the favourites getting a move on now.
Kokoman just losing contact a little bit in that group. Still in there, he was with Pau Martí. So we're back up to the leaders, heading on to Mount Pleasant again, and those, well, what we reckon to be plus 16% ramps. They are very steep here.
Yeah, Kokoman, of course, had a pretty good season with that European Time Trial Championship win, but didn't have a great day on the time trial, so maybe he's just sort of run out of steam at the end of the season. Maybe some problem, adjusting to the new time zone, or some other problem. I don't know exactly what's going on, but he seems a little bit off the pace. Of course, still in the race, but not quite as dominant as he's been throughout the season.
The Wallabies are in town on the flag. I think that's a change of outfit. Dressed as a monster last time. That's a good effort to get on the camera. Now we've got an attack.
Yeah,
Morgado again,
like,
trying to follow.
It looks like it's Jørgen Nordhagen for Norway, one of the better climbers in the junior category at the moment. You see, he's not too big, so he goes uphill quite quickly, and a lot of riders suffering under that pace now.
Paul Martí, the Spanish rider I was telling you about, just dropped out the back there and considerably. Hersing is still in this group. There he is, number 33, just in front of the other remaining British rider. That's Jed Smithson. Number 74 there for Slovenia is being dropped. That's Nathan Gregorčić. And 65 here for Australia, Oscar Chamberlain, making sure he works hard to get back in, but just off the back.
I would sort of like to see the front of the peloton, because really some favourites moving, and yeah, interesting to see. Here we go. It's only a few riders left there, and these are the real favourites. We've got Nordhagen with Morgado, who's been on the move already. Emil Herzog has made it over, and certainly Ragilo there at the end. And I haven't quite managed to identify the French and the Czech rider, but it's a strong group, this, and this is really the first time we've seen the maybe top 5, 6 favourites going on the move. Some of them at least. Not all of them. We see, I think, Jan Christen at the front of that group there, trying to chase back on.
87 there is Samuel Novak. A French rider, we did see Paul Magnier was the first on the move, but again, we didn't really see too much of that front group, did we? And so much could have changed backwards and forwards. Have to try and work that one out when we get a look. Luzwe still in the group here, number 6. And again, Nordhagen is just moving at the front with Morgado left-hand side. A little bit of a gap between. There's a quick word as they'll work together.
I mean, this is the sort of attack you'd expect maybe in the final lap, maybe in the penultimate lap, but it's still quite a lot to go, and they're already really going for it. And yeah, it's interesting to see these favourites moving already, and you have to sort of wonder, is this too early, or is this the right move for the win? But yeah, we'll figure it out in the next maybe hour and a half or so.
Leaders. Oh, Echo Stoffer.
Yeah, I think he just lost his glasses there, trying to put them away somewhere, but he's maybe still suffering from those handlebars being maybe not quite in the ideal position. This is that chase group.
Not managed to get that sorted at all. And chase group that includes Frank Arnhem Ragilo, as you mentioned, number 40. Strong youth component of Estonian cycling at the moment. He seemed present across the juniors.
Yeah, we saw, of course, last year Madis Mikkels, one of the maybe outsiders for the under-23 race, coming up later today. Really strong generation these couple of years in Estonia, with the rider leading the race right now, Romet Pajur.
Riders all over the road, and riders at the front of the race, all 6 of them, might not be too far off having company. It's 40 seconds to Group 3, but it's a lot less to Group 2.
Yeah, so we've got the leaders we've seen throughout this race, those 6 riders, and now this chase group of 7 with some of the pre-race favourites, with Morgado, Herzog, Nordhagen. Just looking at the numbers, it does look like it's Paul Magnier. Didn't quite get the number of the Czech rider, and Eckerstofer here dropped back to that group, I think, second group on the road with his handlebars there.
Emil Herzog left-hand side. As we go back to Group 3, France, or the main chase group, France still represented in there with Luzwe, number 6. Eritrea representation still in here as well. And the Italians represented by Matteo Scalco. Now the lead, down to 5, remember. Just 11 seconds on that chase group, including the man who's just been dropped from the front group. Paul Magnier on the left-hand side. Oh, they're all working together. There's a bit of looking around here. 43 there from Portugal, Antonio Morgado. And Krzysztofer trying to make sure that everybody does their job. Now, the rider from Czech Republic is Martin Barta. Year-old rider, first-year junior, looking good.
The gaps is quite big to this this peloton, because I don't know if the 40 seconds is correct, but it's definitely quite a big gap, and I think it would be normal to assume that these two groups are going to come together. So get a group of, what is it, maybe 12, 13 riders at the front, and that's sort of on the edge of being workable. I think some of the riders might sit in, and the cooperation might die down if it's that big.
Colorado, a non-finisher, William Colorado of Colombia, rode the time trial the other day to no great shakes. Second group on the road. Jürgen Nordhagen of Norway. Of course, they are the defending champions as a nation in this event. Won it for the first time last year through Per Strandhagenes, Rakilo Morgado Kadlec, Krzysztofer in that. And problems in the Slovak camp as well. Martin Jurek, who we saw on the attack on lap one, a non-finisher. Jurek of Slovakia has just climbed off. Colorado from Colombia has climbed off. The race of attrition continues at the back. The trapdoor not shutting at all. At the front, just 15 seconds between a front group of 5 and a chasing group of 7 or 8. Here we go. 7, in fact, in the chase, including a man who had been at the front.
That's the interesting thing, because well, I think there was some speculation about, certainly for the men elite race, you know, waiting to the last lap and seeing if the move would happen there. But you know, if this pattern is anything to go by, we'll see quite an exciting race from quite far out. And yeah, maybe it will depend on what the outcome of this race is. If one of these front 5 riders hangs on for the win, then that's obviously, you know, a good sign for any riders who want to attack early. But if the peloton comes back and someone from there manages to get this world title, then I think, you know, the professionals will be looking at this as well and drawing their conclusions.
I think what is very predictable and forecastable is that it will be a very attritional race in every single category because of the circuit and that climb. Just where do you think the it will be a small group coming to the line or going over that final climb, or whether somebody can hold on to any gap that they might be able to put in on that climb. But it's certainly going to leave it open, unpredictable and interesting, which is exactly how we want the World Championships to be.
Yeah, I think we can make predictions as to what's going to happen in the other races, but it really depends. I think if there's one rider who's really, the strongest rider in the race on that climb, that rider can probably get away. But, it depends how close the chasers are, whether the rider will be able to hold on.
That's the thing, is can they stay away, isn't it? Can they stay away given the roads on the way in? And that's going to be the unpredictable and I think very exciting thing, as we see this group conserving this advantage again at 31 seconds. And it did look like it was coming back together, didn't it? We had 10 seconds, we had them in view, but they continue to work hard. It's a really impressive ride by these guys out front.
Yeah, you would think that the fresher riders in the chase, they're already, just if we don't count extra for the 6 riders probably cooperating. You'd think they'd be able to come back, but maybe not quite willing to go all in. Of course, we do have one of the Estonian riders also in the chase, who's got a teammate at the front. Maybe that's, you see him there trying to sort of disrupt the chase, so that might play into it as well. But and of course, Eckerstorfer doesn't seem to be cooperating. And actually, the Czech rider Kadlec as well. So actually, there's only 4 riders riding in this group, so that sort of makes sense that they're not really coming closer. Of course, they are fresher, but it is 4 against 5. So, and of course, committing to a chase with a bit of baggage on your wheel is maybe not the best idea. So, yeah.
This is Hersing, one of the riders chasing on in Group 3. They now sit at, what do we have? Minute and 4.
Yeah, looking at the timing sheet, it says 27 seconds to this chase group, or not this chase group, but the chase group, and then 47 seconds to the peloton, or the first part of the peloton rather, because we say peloton, but how many riders are there? Maybe some 15 or so. And so it's really there isn't really a peloton anymore, and you'd even question, is it even an advantage at the moment to sit in that group? Because maybe if you've got a teammate up front, but it doesn't look like it's too beneficial to be a minute back.
We're approaching the final 50 kilometres of the men junior road race in Wollongong. It's the first race on the road, the first rainbow jersey to be awarded in road racing at this year's World Championships in Australia. You're looking at group number 2 on the road. And you can just see the French rider there has gone to the back in an attempt to try and entice the other riders who weren't doing any work out to do so. That was Paul Magnier. This is now group 3. 65 there at the back is Oscar Chamberlain. Just in front of him for Eritrea, that rider is Yoel Gebregerish. And this is back to the front. Zach Walker, who's the British champion from the Isle of Man.
And this group is continuing to work well together, while we see one of the groups further back crossing the finish line. Does look like this is, still, I think we've got 35 riders over the line at the moment, so this is for 36th place, in fact, which is, it doesn't sound too bad, but they are quite a long way behind. Maybe, I can't quite see the time there, but it's, this group is definitely out of it for the victory at 2:40 at the moment.
Depends, doesn't it? See exactly who's going to finish that. You could heard that 22 seconds was the gap being shouted to this group, so it's starting to come down a little bit.
Yeah, but the group still, it's working well together. It's still got that 20 seconds, and they did look like they would be caught with maybe only 10 seconds between them in the chase group, but that was just after the final climb, and they've pulled out a little bit more of a gap since then, and just curious developments, really.
Well, there is Wollongong from the air. And this is how it looked 3 days ago in the sunshine. Pacific Ocean in the background, beautiful beaches. Home to a large university. And of course, just around an hour on the motorway down from the big metropolis that is Sydney. Wollongong with its own attractions as well. Metropolitan area, home to about 300,000 people. And one of Australia's big cities. Back to the front of the race. 48 kilometres remain. 3 more ascensions of Mount Pleasant. It's been non-stop full gas stuff since the start. If you set your alarm to get up and watch us, or if you're staying up late, just come in from somewhere. Those of you elsewhere in the world, finishing your task for the day or getting up, whatever you're doing, a little reminder that we are nigh on 90 kilometres now into this race. It started off full gas. It's remained the same really all day long. It's sort of been the epitome of junior racing, or maybe the stereotypical view of junior racing. Full gas, not too much sense in it, and it's been such an entertaining watch so far.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's, we say junior racing, but usually it's maybe not controlled as much as just sort of, it tends to stay more together, especially if the course isn't too hard. And there's quite a lot of flat in this course, but, the riders are just continuing to go for it. And, well, that's what we love to see, I think.
Well, yet again, we're going to head up to first Mount Ousley, first part of it. Central Wollongong suburb, right at the foot of the Illawarra escarpment. Illawarra country, just outside of where we sit. And Mount Pleasant will be the ascension again today as the bad weather starts to return. The showers that were forecast, I'm afraid, have turned up. And there's the rain on the camera lens to prove it. Heading up towards Mount Pleasant, another hillier suburb, this time on the northern flank of Mount Kira. Mount Kira, which will climb at the weekend, by the way, in the elite races. And we head up Brokers Road, said to be one of the steepest roads in the whole state of New South Wales. That's where plenty of the action is going to happen over the next 3 days. And it's a Thursday night, Thursday afternoon in Europe and Americas respectively, but it is very much well into Friday here in Australia. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the big days for the road races. So we're looking at Group 2 here, and Eckerstoff still sitting on. Cadlet's with him.
Yeah, it's interesting looking at the gaps now. It's only 15 seconds between that second chase, or the first chase group, the second group on the road, and well, what's left of the peloton. It's 15 riders in that group, with many of the pre-race favorites still in there, and yeah, so that's it. It almost looks like it's coming back together with the chase group. So yeah, it looks to be like those 4 riders setting the pace aren't quite able to get away.
4 riders still in this group for France, 2 for Australia, 2 for Eritrea. Belgium have 1. Of course, there's 1 for all of these nations on your screen as well. Great Britain, Italy, Netherlands, Portugal, Switzerland. Some of these lucky nations have riders up the road further as well, so they're in good positions. Reminder, there's no race radios here, though, as we see a little few issues for the rider we were talking about earlier on, Michael Leonard, who's turning professional with the Ineos Grenadiers. It's not looking like a great race for him so far.
Well, he was in a decent group, but just sort of being ridden off the wheel here, it seems. And wonder if he's got a problem, or if that's just the effort kicking in of well, it's been now 90 kilometers racing, something like that anyway. And well, that's just a sign of how tough this race has been, I think.
Something like that, he says. You got it nailed on, Jens. 90 kilometers exactly we're in. 45 remain.
Yeah, it's more luck than math skills, I think, but yeah.
Take the credit, take the credit.
Yeah.
2/3 of the way in we are. And there's 25 seconds of a gap for this group. And whenever it seems like it's coming back, they just hold on and build again. 45 k's to go. Riders riding recons or other local cyclists at the day off, enjoying the racing on course. not enjoying the weather so much, but those locals will have been used to this. It's not been the greatest of winter down here. Now, groups 2 and 3 have eventually come together. This is interesting now, Jens.
Yeah, it does look like these groups back together. That means we've got about sort of 22 riders, although a couple of riders seem to have been dropped from this. I think we should just call it the peloton, even though it's not really a peloton anymore. It's the biggest group on the road that's still in contention, with most of the big pre-race favorites. So I think the peloton and the breakaway still at the road with 27 seconds, it says now on the GPS gaps. So yeah, I think any of these riders can still win. Anyone dropped from that peloton is probably out of it, unless something pretty spectacular happens.
26 seconds. Two riders from the USA seem to have contributed fully to this. There's been no holding back for one of the American riders, given the fact that the others in the group. I suppose that wouldn't have gone down too well or been too popular anyway in this group.
Yeah, the other American, Alex Gustin, is actually at 240 now, so it's just the two of them now in the race.
Mm-hmm. On their way up again to Dumfries Avenue.
It's also interesting to note that one of the pre-race favorites, maybe for a lot of people, Mathieu Kokkelman, is at 1 minute and 2 seconds at the finish line. So he looks to be out of contention at the moment. Came through in a group of only 4 riders, so they're not looking great for Luxembourg at the moment.
Not looking great for a lot of the pre-race favourites, actually, because quite a few of the big names we mentioned are either out through crashes or have just had bad days. It's been one of those days that's been difficult. As you see, Nordhagen now again at the front, Kristen on his wheel. They are two of the other favourites. Hersing there in position 3 with the Oranje helmet on.
Yeah, I think at the start of the race, if you would have told anyone who knows anything about junior racing that 2 Eritreans would be in this group and only 1 Dutch rider, I think you'd get some weird looks. But the Eritreans are doing quite well. Certainly the French as well, with 4 riders in this group, and some of the bigger nations like the Netherlands, like Italy as well. Not with too many riders in the group anymore.
Gonçalo Tavares is the rider at the back wearing 45 for Portugal. For France, we talked about the numbers. That's Lozue wearing number 6. Wearing 8 is Noah Isidore. And he was one of the riders talked of as a possible man who could be decent in this particular race today. 22 seconds now for the race leaders. Nordhagen looking to continue the male success in the individual races for Norway. We've taken the 2 male individual races we've had so far.
Yeah, Nordhagen is really committing to riding hard on these climbs. We've seen him last lap really sort of full-on attacking that climb, and he looks to be at it again. And certainly decided that that's where he has to make the difference. And he's trying his best to drop as many riders as possible and maybe make it up to that front group, because it's only 15 seconds now. So I think this might be the end of that breakaway if someone continues to go on this climb from the peloton.
It's the lowest the group gap has been on this climb, hasn't it? Because we've seen a pattern, as you described earlier on, that each and every time approaching this climb, the first part of the lap, the gap's grown again, but this is the smallest it's been.
Yeah, and we still see Nordhagen really committing to this climb, and I think if he continues up the whole climb, then the group will definitely be caught, and this group will probably get some smaller as well.
Hersing can follow him, it seems. There's a rider from Belgium not too far away as well behind. I imagine that has to be from Mechelen. Now this group, as you suspected, looks like it might be about to come back together. And a superb ride from our 5 breakaway artists. And now then, problems for Lozue. France starting to struggle for numbers after having a superb race till now. Isidore as well. And one of the 2 Eritrean riders who is in the group struggling too. This now is Gebre Gergish, number 84.
Yeah, just imagine 15, 20 years ago saying 2 Eritrean riders would be in the top 25 of the men junior road race. I think cycling has come a long way in getting more international, and this is sort of the result of that. So sort of. But the last time the Worlds was here in Australia, in Geelong, in 2010, you would sort of suspect that the Eritrean riders would be, the riders in the early breakaway that get caught at 100 kilometers to go, and you never see the front again. But they're doing quite well here. Still one rider in that peloton that's now at the front of the race.
And it'll be an eager nation watching the television in Eritrea late into the night on Saturday night in particular, because they have one of the race favourites in Binyam Girmay, and they also have a really strong team to back him up with experienced domestics as well. And I'm looking forward to watching that as the group's back together at the front, and here goes Nordhagen on the attack, and we have a different race now.
Yeah, I have to wonder if this is the right tactic to go every time up the climb, because there's still a few climbs to go, but one of the French riders now taking over the lead, and really putting other riders under pressure. There's not too many riders left with some energy in this race while we're at the top of Mount Pleasant.
Looks like Thibaut Gruel, in fact. Second rider is Nordhagen. Then you have Hersing, who's been up there or thereabouts now. Roger starting to struggle out the back for Australia. 53 there is Cadlitz, who is chasing on and, well, sitting on in that second group for quite a while. And the race is all broken up once more as we come to the end of Mount Pleasant for the third from last time.
Sort of 14 riders now at the front, 2 behind, and then these 5. But it's it's a really small group, and given we started with over around 100 riders at the start of this race, there's not that much left, and there's still what is it, 2.5 laps to go, I think. So
that's the one.
Yeah, it's still 2 climbs to go, and the race is already completely blown apart. Some favourites abandoning already after crashes. Some favourites getting dropped, and it's really an attritional race, and this pattern, if it continues, we'll really see some tired bodies at the end of the race, and we could see some surprises as well, with some riders having committed more energy than others to chasing and getting back on. Some riders probably, we saw the French team sitting on quite a lot. Some riders have just been sitting in that group, and will have some energy left probably.
Germany on the move on these wet roads that have just taken another shower. We started off with wet roads today, and we've had at least 2 showers during the race, and we're just over 2/3 away through it now.
Yeah, this is one of the pre-race favourites. Emil Herzog also finished 6th in the mountain bike world championships just earlier this year, so he should be able to deal with the wet descent. Also 3rd in the time trial championships earlier this week. So, he's one of those talents riding for the Bora Hansgrohe development team Auto Eder. And, he's definitely one to watch for the future.
Another rider in this era of multi-discipline. Top bike riders. 40 k's to go. It's a big chase for Chamberlain here for Australia, as Herzog is the man for Germany at the front. We saw the attack over the top from Thibaut Gruel. Well, Estonia have bodies in there. Walker's still there for Great Britain. The other British rider, by the way, that was Jed Smithson. He was dropped on that last climb, and a reminder that Josh Tarling has already crashed out the race. Well, they'll be needing that lighthouse on today at Flagstaff Point. It's miserable. Visibility's not great. Thankfully, the bike riders know where they're going. Staying upright, though, is another thing. We've seen a couple of crashes already in the wet. And we've seen an attritional, exciting and aggressive race. So Herzog's move has dragged a few with him. Nordhagen is there, still in the group after all of his work on the climb. Jan Christen, Swiss rider. UAE Emirates rider until 2027. And number 7 here for France is Grissel, just chasing back on with Eggerstoffer, who's had an eventful race, hasn't he? He's been everywhere.
Yeah, spending a long time in that the breakaway, then in the chase group, and now sort of sitting on the back of the peloton, trying to make it back on because there's a few meters of space in front of him. But yeah, I wonder what happens now because we've seen some moves, we've seen constant dynamic racing, and now there is quite a serious group back together, but no sort of domestiques. I guess there's no one really to control. So it's the question of, are we going to see more attacks, or is this pace going to drop a little bit, and maybe some riders can get back.
Well, young Kristen here at the front for Switzerland, described as an absolute monster talent. Machin, who's in charge over at UAE Emirates, has obviously seen something he likes. He is a young cyclocross star, is Kristen.
Yeah, the world champion, in fact, in the junior category, and also medalist at the mountain bike world championships, the cross-country race. Was already mentioned, of course, Herzog being sixth in that race, and Paul Magnier also finishing on the podium in third, with Kristen in second. So three riders who finished quite well in the mountain bike world championships, also in this group at the front now.
Of course, you've been a cross world champion yourself. In terms of this sort of multi-discipline thing, is it something that riders are actively told to do now when they're young, to keep racing in different disciplines, or has it just come to the surface naturally?
Well, certainly when you're young, you sort of have to develop in multiple directions, or at least that broad development. Really, it doesn't really matter if you're even some of these athletes like Nordhagen is quite a high-level cross-country skier, and that sort of thing. Cross-discipline development, maybe even different sports. It's quite important, because if you're just sitting on a bicycle for 15 hours a week for these juniors, probably it's not great for your body to develop in just that one direction, and doing some different things, different disciplines, even these off-road disciplines, it's for your handling skills. It's absolutely vital, because we've seen a lot of riders races being decided in descents or in corners recently. It's just in terms of staying upright in the bunch, you need those skills. While we do see some attacks again with Jan Kisten and Emil Herzog on the move, so it's just what we're talking about.
Followed once more by Thibaut Gruella. He's been active, hasn't he, the Frenchman? He attacked over the top. The 18 years of age rider who was 10th in the time trial. He's the French time trial champion at junior level, but was no great shakes in a road race this year. Had a really good spring, didn't he? Third in Kurna at the start of the year. So he knows how to ride a classics race.
Yeah, a bit of separation there between the two groups. We saw before we see this, what is it, windsurfing? Is that what it's called? I'm not quite sure, but...
This gentleman's a kite surfer, but I'm sure that with this weather, you want to be out there on your windsurf board as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really my specialist subject, but well, it seems to be the weather for it, with a bit of wind and the rain.
Where's Juan Antonio Flecha when we need him? He loves this sort of stuff. He's an addict. You see him on the coast in Spain, certainly down the Canary Islands. He loves a trip down there. Our good colleague from Spain, another classic specialist. He didn't do bad in the spring, did he? As we get ever so slightly drier roads into the finish here. It's not been raining as much in town as it has been in the hills. And we're approaching now the point where we're going to get 2 laps to go. And, well, I think you already said that we were well into the finale. If we weren't, then we certainly are when they come through the line here.
Yeah, just looking at the radar, it does seem like there is some, maybe a little bit of rain on the way. Or it's just passed, not quite sure, but it's definitely more inland than at the finish line here on the coast. So, yeah, but it continues, the roads aren't going to dry up in the next 35 kilometers. It's less than an hour of racing probably. And, yeah, I doubt that anything's going to really dry up. Although, yeah, it does look quite dry here at the finish. So, it's probably a good thing with riders taking risks into the finish that the roads aren't too wet.
Egerstoffer again on the move. Lost count of the number of times he's been on the move, actually. He's done a really good job. He's a one-man band for Austria here. Only one single Austrian rider is present, and Benjamin Egerstoffer has done a superb job so far. Second in the youth tour of Austria this year. Of course, up there in the European Championships where he finished 10th. He is the Austrian national road race champion in the junior category.
Yeah, and he's off the front on his own now, so yeah, it looks like the pace is dropping there. Riders don't seem to really think he's too dangerous, so letting him off the front, and well, we'll see where it ends up. I think this is sort of that moment where the riders settle in a little bit, because the racing has been full on the whole time, and yeah, I think a lot of riders are maybe looking for a little bit of a lull in the action, and but it does look like one of the American riders is on the move again, so not quite happy to sit back.
There are a few riders just looking around at those French jerseys there. They've got the numbers in this group. I wondered if they were seeing if the French would contribute to a chase. But as you say, the Americans are on the attack. It's Walker, the British champion, who's chasing. Herzog goes. He's the only German in here. And the Eritrean fans wait and watch. 2 laps to go.
Yeah, so only well, one leader, 15 riders in the chase, and then the next group is not too far behind. There's only a couple riders in that group, but you know, Jed Smithson is there in the group behind. It seems from the timing sheet we've got in front of us. It looks like a 5 or 6 man group. That's just maybe 15 seconds behind this group.
Well, no glasses required now for Kristen. If you're watching on television, it's time for the last commercial break during the race. And for those of you still on our digital platforms, we thank you for our custom and remind you that you can watch every single pedal stroke uninterrupted throughout the World Championships. A flood for Mechelen there at the back for Belgium, and this is a real lull in the action now. And we were waiting to see what France would do. They're the team with the numbers. They have 3 riders in here, and it's Grisel who's gone to work at the front.
Yeah, I think they're the one team that has multiple riders in this group. I think maybe Estonia has still got 2 riders as well, but not quite sure on that.
Yeah, they do have 2. They do have 2. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Americans as well with 2 riders, but yeah, France definitely best represented rider here. While we have a look at the lap times, does look like it's slowing down a little bit. Just that final lap going a little bit quicker, but of course the riders are getting tired. The race has been full on the entire way here, so. Yeah, it's definitely a tough event, and I think, you know, just probably the best rider in the race will end up winning, or at least one of the best few riders, because it's been a really tough one.
Have to be strong. Yes, there's been bad luck for some riders. They've been taken out of the race. But the winner will be the strongest of those who remain. Certainly not too many numbers to play tactical games either, are there? You've got to have the legs to get up that climb each time and carry it through if you do. And if a small group makes it over, you have to have the legs in the finale. And this is all that's left, realistically, for those riders who's going to contend for the rainbow jersey.
Yeah, so it does look like France is committing 1 rider to chase, and then they'll have 2 riders left to contest the final. It's interesting that they've even got, you know, someone to actually set the pace. While not sure, is this the chase group? I think someone might have made it back on.
Yeah. Yeah, the 5-rider group that you mentioned was back on, because we just saw the big frame of Jed Smiths and that. He was right at the back, and you'd mentioned they'd come across a few seconds behind. So that little lull has allowed them to get back on as we see the weather. I can promise you this is Australia. 16 degrees, light rain. We're in New South Wales, approaching spring. We've had some very nice days this week. It's not always been like this, but it's a bad weather forecast between today and tomorrow. Sunday for the men's elite race, we're expecting glorious sunshine again. Just 9 seconds for Eckerstoffer. They didn't see him as a threat, and well, they were proved right. Benjamin Eckerstoffer has had a really strong race. Might not win this in the end, but he's certainly shown himself off to the watching world. He's being chased down now by what's left in this race, realistically. And there are now 1 and a bit laps remaining. 2 ascensions of the main climb left. We've got riders in who've been in breakaways, attacks, who've given everything. Difficult to read the race here. Difficult to predict this.
Yeah, it's interesting that the French team has decided to basically sacrifice someone to bring this back, because Eckerstofer has sort of put in quite a lot of effort, and I'm not sure that he was so dangerous that they had to commit someone to chase that down as hard as they really seem to have done.
Well, with 30 Ks to go, we are well into the final hour.
So just looking at the timings at the finish, we've got this front group that should be 21 riders, including Eckerstofer, and then just a group of 4 riders at about 45 seconds at the finish. So wondering where they are exactly at the moment, but behind that, just a 3-minute gap to the 26th rider in the race. So I think we can pretty safely say it's one of those 25 riders at the front of the race who's going to be the world champion at the end of this.
Well, the rider who's been sacrificed by France is 17-year-old Eri.Nati.channel. Here he is, he brought that back. He's keeping the pace nice and high.
Yeah, it's interesting what's going to happen now that he's decided to get off the front. The American rider does seem to continue the pace, but I don't think it's as hard a pace as it was just a minute ago. And you would sort of think that maybe the big favourites would wait for the climb, but maybe someone would like to get a bit of a gap before the climb even starts, because might not be too confident in following the best riders on the climb.
30 Ks to go. 2 American riders in here have already been on the attack. Australia only really with Oscar Chamberlain remaining. He's been sitting in at the back now, Emil Herzog. Bit of a conversation there between a couple of riders for France. Well, how much is their conversation? Maybe 1 or 2 words. And a reminder that Emil Herzog is all alone here, and also another reminder, you might see some big cadence being pedalled here. The strongest gear they can have is a 52-14. Restricted gears until the end of this year for junior races. And this is the lead group: Nordhagen, Grisel, Magnier and Gruel. Von Mekele is the only representative from Belgium. Also in this group, I know that Tersing is there, and he's alongside Herzog, Skalkort, Smithson, Walker. The rest of the riders in the group include Morgado, his compatriot Tavares, Christen, one of the big names, Ragilo and Payur. And then you have Kadlec, Novak, Schmidt, Moore, Chamberlain, as well as Eckerstofer. So Eritrea have lost their 2 riders. I've not seen those jerseys at the front for a while. Confirmation there, and it's a real select group and the strongest leg so far. Reminder, if you're tuning in late, problems in terms of crashes today for some of the favourites. The World Time Trial champion Josh Tarling looked in a mess. He really tried to continue for a couple of laps and struggled. We saw a superb job that was done really as well by Max from the Netherlands, Max van der Merle, pardon me. He also tried his best. And we saw a couple of riders crashing out, including Duarte Marivoet of Belgium. We've seen attacks, all sorts of things going on. And this is what's left. This is, I suppose, the first sort of semi-down point in the race, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's sort of a natural point where just a lot of riders are just really tired, because they've gone so hard at it. It's we've seen the average of well over 40 kilometers an hour with this sort of elevation we've seen at the climb. Also in the wet, it's also with quite a lot of corners actually. So it has been a really, really tough race, and I think it's just a natural point where there's not enough energy left to go any faster than this, and still have something left for the final.
A rainy Wollongong, 80 kilometres south of Sydney in New South Wales, Australia. This is what it looked like the other day. Bit of a contrast, eh? Everywhere looks better in the sunshine. And I'm sure the tourist board will be hanging on to these images, and they'll be pretty happy that there's more sunshine forecast for the final day of the World Championships this year. Looking up towards North Wollongong there. Big nature reserve up the top. Pocky's Estate Nature Reserve, I'm told. Part of the Botanic Garden that we've been looking at on the time trial courses housed there as well. We've got, including a little bit of rainforest up there. It's been raining plenty today. The Illawarra escarpment starting in the hills. We'll be having a look at that as riders will climb Mount Kira for the elite races. And for here, this particular circuit is seeing this type of racing, and France are just trying to keep the pace up here.
Yeah, it does seem like they've just invested one rider in Mathis Grisel to invest in trying to keep the pace up, keep this group together until the climb, and well, he's still moving on the climb, on the first Dumfries Avenue, the sort of warm-up climb, I guess. Probably hard enough in its own right, but yeah, there is, you know, the next climb coming up, Mount Pleasant. It's hard, but yeah, it's an interesting race, and I assume someone will try to move on this climb again.
Grisel's struggling to keep that pace up, isn't he? And Hersing comes to the front. Morgado's up there. That might be the last we see of Mathis Grisel, and maybe paying for having brought that early move back. But France using their numbers, their resources, but the numbers change now. France with just 2 riders left.
Yeah, it's a testament to the team spirit in the French team that they've, you know, I assume that what happened is that Mathis Grisel has said to his teammates, you know, I don't feel like I'm going to win this race, and you know, he was happy to close that gap and you know, bring his teammates to the front and make sure that they had a better chance of winning the race. And you know, it's hard to foster such team spirit in a junior event like this.
Approaching Mount Pleasant then. That's Mount Ousley. We've known it as Dumfries Avenue, haven't we, so far? Mount Ousley, a suburb now then. Oh, cramp. You could hear that. Oh, ouch. And that's Jed Smithson. Oh, never nice.
No, especially not when the climb is coming up in about 200 meters. They're making that left turn onto the steepest climb of the race, percentages up to some 17%, and yeah, I don't think he's going to get up there if he's got a cramp.
No, he's going to have to stop and stretch that out, isn't he? Oh, no. It's one of the worst feelings. Horrible. And that is that for Jed Smithson.
Yeah, it's good to remind everyone that this is not a bad rider. It's just, it's been an incredibly tough race, and I would stand to reason that we're going to see this more often in the final lap with some of the other riders that are currently still at the front, while we see an attack of Menno Huizing for the Netherlands.
Menno Huizing there attacking, whereas the winner of the Trophée van Vlaanderen this year, Jed Smithson, off the back. Now then, big gradients coming up, and look who's there again. Morgado. Limitless energy reserves, it seems, today for the Portuguese.
You know, he was one of the big favourites coming into this race, you know, among maybe the 6-7 biggest names of the junior peloton, and he's won a lot of races this year, so it does make sense that he's at the front, but he has invested quite a lot of energy, and you know, you do wonder if he's got the legs to finish this off, but you know, so far it doesn't look too bad for him.
His teammate off the back almost. Gonçalo Tavares wearing 45. They're just losing contact. There's Eckerstoffer, and I think we're expecting that. He's given 2 or 3 different moves off the front.
Yeah, most of the riders we see at the back were already dropped on the previous ascent here, and yeah, it's no miracle to see that they're dropped again. And we will just see this group whittling down even more, and on this descent, maybe on the next descent, we'll see the final attacks. But you always wonder if anyone has anything left to really get a move on and split this group up.
Walker continues to keep contact despite the fact that he was in that early group in the breakaway, remember? There's Kristen, Nordhagen, but Hersing again must be feeling good here. But look at this from Morgado. Morgado making his move now, and Antonio Morgado is putting the hurt on everybody. This is sensational.
Yeah, this is maybe the fourth time that he's attacked, and his energy is just, as you said, limitless, it seems. But yeah, I'm not sure this is really the moment to go on your own. Maybe he's hoping to sort of get a small group off the front, but we've now 4 riders behind, then 2, then another one, and then a slightly bigger gap. So I assume he's hoping to get that small group together. And yeah, the Americans here are in a worse spot than some of the riders at the front.
Yeah, that's probably that for the US. So Antonio Morgado, Emil Herzog. Looks like, I think that's Thibaut Cruel, but we're going to check on that for France. It'll either be Cruel or the other rider who is left.
Yeah, I think it's Magnier as well in this group. So 2 riders for France in a 5-man group, if I see that correctly, with Nordhagen, Morgado, and Emil Herzog leading. But they're not completely gone yet. There's still a few riders in view there within maybe some 10 seconds.
Antonio Morgado, of course, with that moustache, he's got the look of a senior, hasn't he? He's got the whole Zé Serpa look going on. Certainly entertaining. The man from Kaldustereinen. Right turn here where we saw that early crash. There's Kristen, chasing group with Walker. Just in front was Vlad van Mechelen as well, remaining Belgian rider. Mentioned earlier on that comes from a family of bike riders, and well, his father, the man who invented quite a lot of those songs you hear in the beer tents when at carnival time in Belgium. They're rather famous for that back home.
Herzog has done this a few times now, going into the descent, trying to maybe put the other riders under pressure. Feels confident that he's just comfortable in the descent and trying to put the other riders under pressure. And not sure that it's completely working, but this group, yeah, I'm not sure it's going to stay away, but it's definitely sure that these 5 riders are among the strongest in this race.
Yeah, Herzog, who was top 5 Paris-Roubaix this year, wasn't he? Strong rider. Kilo at the back for Estonia, who, until a couple of moments ago, had a decent position in this race. A lot of teams were like that going into the climb, decent numbers. It's just put everybody in its place again, hasn't it? After another attack from Antonio Morgado, who's here again, peddling for his life to keep this group away. Trying to get the organisation, but they can't all hold the wheel here.
No, it's this is the restricted gears playing up again, because it's pretty fast down here, and you see the riders are sort of spinning out. They're doing maybe a cadence of 120 RPMs, and at some point you just can't go as fast as or any faster than the front riders are doing, and it's very hard to get back then.
Restricted gears in junior racing, would you train on them as well, or would you train with sort of a normal change set and then race on restricted gears?
No, I think most riders are training on not their race gear necessarily, but well, it doesn't really make sense to have a different setup in training. You have to get used to what you're racing with. So yeah, it's generally certainly in sort of official training things. Then I think the teams generally, it's frowned upon to race or train with a bigger gear. I know some riders do it, but generally it's not really done.
Yeah, I was wondering, because obviously it's part of development, and if the studies have been done now as well, and they say that it's not an issue for the knees at the moment, as you're talking with Magnus Bäckstedt the other night, then, well, interesting to see how it goes. I'm sure riders have their own preference, but good to know what goes on and how these riders approach things. Here's Herzog again.
Yeah, the three riders behind are almost getting on, but now Huizing doing a big effort up that bridge. Van Mechelen not quite pulling through, and I think these five might be riding away again.
Yeah, Christen not coming through, just sitting on. Van Mechelen takes his turn. Menno Huizing is the rider you mentioned, racing for the Dutch team in that slightly changed jersey with a little less orange. Number 33 there.
This gap just continues to stay at around sort of 4 or 5 seconds, and it's not closing down. It's Herzog driving the pace here at the front, the two French riders as well in that group, and yeah, Nordhagen and Morgado are the other two. So it's these five, then three, and then the rest looks to be well quite far down. So would he really have to? Yeah, the pace would have to drop to let anyone else back in. But then you'd have to wonder, are they good enough to stay on the next climb?
And they're making it really hard for that group behind. Remember, France represented really well in that front group. Both Paul Magnier and Thibaut Gruel. Christen is the man just sitting on in that chasing group.
It does look like they're coming closer now, so maybe we'll get the 8 leaders we've been waiting for since the bottom of the descent, but it certainly cost a lot of effort for the Belgian and the Dutch rider, but it doesn't look like Jan Christen has taken one turn at the front, so he's managed to get there quite cheaply. It's a bit of a gamble, but it worked out for him.
Interesting to know, isn't it, with Christen, whether he's struggling or is it tactical. Of course, in terms of name and ability, he's one of the big favourites, isn't he? But you never know, it's been such an aggressive race, as finally we do have 8 riders together. Looking back down the road, there's another group that doesn't exactly look like they're about to join and come across, and this group struggling to get organised now.
Yeah, and now we see Christen attacking again, because there was a bit of a gap in the group, and it does look like Herzog is really wanting to keep this going and try to keep the other riders behind. Not quite sure why exactly, because it's, you know, these are the best climbers, and whether someone gets back or not, they'll probably drop again on the next climb. So he's investing quite a lot of energy in to maybe something that, you know, it's not quite necessary to pull this group ahead.
There's a lot of looking around here. There's Morgado. It is Herzog who is very, very generous in his effort. In the meantime, the lifeguards probably have a sit down and watch the race today, because I don't think there's anyone in the seat. Might even have the day off. It's empty, that position. Either that or they're sheltering from the wind.
Well, we did see that one kite surfer, but it's certainly not busy at the beach there.
It's not beach weather, it's biking weather, as Morgado goes for the umpteenth time. It's sensational.
What is that, 5 or 6 times now he's checked, and we're not even into the final lap. And well, he is getting away now. Menno Huizing not quite able to close that gap now. Herzog trying to come across as well, but he's dragging the rest of the group with him, and don't think he's going to continue setting that pace. So Morgado might be gone at the moment.
It's like watching Mathieu van der Poel, this. Incredible.
Yeah, we just have to extrapolate this 5 years into the future, and well, better hope he's going to be at one of the big teams tearing it up at the classics. And yeah, this is one of those riders we have to look forward to in the next couple of years, slotting right into the modern riding style of attacking very far out.
Well, the town of Caldas de Reina already has a very famous rider in the peloton, but we might be about to see another. João Almeida, he's the man that's paved the way. And now we're talking about Antonio Morgado on his way to sit under Axel Merckx's wing at Action Hagensbermen next year, the top development team in the world. They're looking around. Herzog's being made to do all the work, and Morgado here is gaining time. There's hesitation here. It's the last lap coming up. The bell's about to ring. Yes, I know there's a climb and over 17 kilometers to go, but they do not want to give Antonio Morgado too much rope here.
Well, the gap's going out and there's no cooperation, so we see an attack again by Menno Huizing, but yeah, they really have to cooperate a little bit to keep this gap under control. I think if they can keep it within maybe 30 seconds ahead of that climb, it should be doable to come across again, because Morgado will invest quite a lot of energy in riding on the flat on his own. But they do have to work together for that to happen, because if it goes out towards maybe a minute, then I don't think they're going to get that back on that one climb.
7 laps ridden, 1 remains. Antonio Morgado of Portugal. He's been swashbuckling today.
We're just,
Portugal. Portugal has never had a winner in this race. We might be about to see the first. Let's see. It's a long way off yet, but they cannot afford to let this get out of hand. And just see as a couple of riders look around, there's a bit of freewheeling here. This is a great situation for Morgado just to build his time, Jens.
Yeah, I was just going to say, looking back past the timesheet we've got for 9th place, we've got a group with Frank Aron, Raguilo, Walker, Schmitz, Novak, Moore. So those riders are still trying to chase on, but yeah, that front group has shown that they're the best climbers, and yeah, I think it stands to reason one of those riders is going to be the world champion at the end of the day.
The man who said that Daniel Lima was going to be the leader, he was obviously playing games with us. Certainly the way he's looking and feeling. Flying here. "16 seconds now. Again, they're enemies here, but they have to be teammates and work together. France, with those 2 riders in, perhaps going to sacrifice, perhaps being lent on. Antonio Morgado now has 18 seconds. And it's the French rider who's riding here. Are we going to see a similar situation where there's a French rider committed to the chase and sacrifice to leave the other? We saw it on the last lap with Grisel. We're now seeing it with Magny. Does he continue to ride? Let's see.
Yeah, it could be that they're sacrificing another rider, but it's I think so deep into the race, it could be that they really want to win both of them, and that's the issue. But it does seem that the one of the riders is trying to sacrifice himself for the others, and that could be key to having one of these riders win, keeping that gap under control. If the gap doesn't go out too far, then there's definitely still an option to get back.
It's looking increasingly like the situation we described is coming to pass for now, isn't it? We've got Paul Magny, number 9, just working on the front. Jan Christen sits on his wheel, while this man, Antonio Morgado, who put in that stinging attack on the last climb, obviously likes riding on his own. He's done it several times today. He's no doubt a talent. Whether he wins this race or not, he's shown he's such a strong rider today, Jens.
Yeah, I think he's definitely gained a few fans. I think the Portuguese fans have already been quite excited about him, just as they have been about João Almeida, and well, with reason. We see. I think everyone loves to see such an attacking rider, and it would be great for the race if he manages to win. But I'm not convinced.
Now the gap's starting to come down, isn't it? Now 14 seconds. And a reminder for anybody who might have set their alarms to wake up and watch the end of the race, we're coming up to the final climb again, which has to be taken on one more time.
Yeah, and it's a really difficult climb with sections up to some 17% maybe. It's gonna kick off on that final climb, and it's just about who has the energy left to attack on that, or at least not get dropped, because it's been a really, really, really hard race so far.
He's had quite the season, hasn't he? winning in wine country in Ribera del Duero in Spain. He won the Giro della Lunigiana as well in Italy. There were general classification victories. He's the junior champion in the time trial and in the road race in Portugal. He's also come close to winning in France, in the Czech Republic and in the Basque Country. He is a superstar at this level. He's been picked up by Hagen's Behrman Axiom for next season. He's increased his gap to 22 seconds as Zach Walker looks like he might be able to get back on. Now, Walker getting back on here, does that tell you that the pace in this group's not quick enough?
Yeah, maybe. It's, well, first of all, of course, a very strong ride by Walker, but on the other hand, yeah, maybe that's an indication that Magnier is suffering as well, and that's the reason he's been put on the front to work for his teammate. But again, you know, Morgado is investing so much. These riders are just sitting in the wheel, and the gap could really come down quite a lot on that final climb if anyone has any energy left on this in this group. But you know, if that gap is correct, 27 seconds, 28 seconds, it's going up all the time, and you know, if it's correct, 30 seconds, that could be enough to get him over the climb if he's still in good form. Now 4 riders coming back as well.
Yeah, it suggests it is. We were seeing it briefly calm down, and then it started to grow out. And when that happens with these time gaps in these races, sometimes we struggle to believe them, don't we? But seeing first Walker get back on, and then these 4 riders coming back on who were, let's face it, well dropped after giving a lot in this race, certainly in the case of the 2 Americans, it does look like the pace in this group is not quick enough.
Yeah, Novak as well, already in a breakaway earlier on today. So, well, that's probably the reason Magnier is putting the effort in to keep this gap under control. He doesn't seem to have the legs to win for himself, and then you know, the best thing you can do is work for your teammates and yeah, keep this gap under control. But 30 seconds is it's not nothing, and you know, coming back to that on a 1 kilometer climb, it's going to be a challenge.
Of course, with the gradient of the climb and Morgado here having given so much, not just on this lap, but throughout the whole race, a reminder that he was attacking at several points in the race. There's still hope for those behind who are playing the game and waiting and waiting and waiting, and who might have a big move left in them. It's not over yet, is it?
No, not at all. It's now looking, well, it's a gap just dropped down to 20 seconds on the timing there. So, yeah, not very consistent gaps. We'll maybe should try to get a timing point on the road there itself, but yeah, it's a difficult one to call this. Morgado has been incredibly strong, but he's also invested a lot in this race, so we'll see what happens.
Portugal will be awake and dreaming in the middle of the night. It's approaching 2:15 in Caldas de Rainha, where both João Almeida, 5th place at the Vuelta this year, former leader of the Giro d'Italia,
Yeah, you know, with any other rider, I would definitely say 20 seconds. It's going to be really difficult to hold on to that gap. But I think we've seen with the way he's ridden today, he's a pretty special rider, and well, you know, who bet against him? I'm not sure, because you know, he's one of these biggest talents of this generation, and you know, this is just a great advert for the future of cycling, I think, with this junior category, these riders racing in the way they do. I think, you know, we'll have a good few years of racing ahead of us.
Antonio Morgado onto the first uphill slopes. 20 seconds, you can hear there's some Portuguese encouragement by the side of the road. But there goes that neutral service car. The road starts to point up and they're now seeing him. He can now turn around and see them. I think he's starting to struggle a little here.
Yeah, for him, it's just about getting to the top of that Mount Pleasant as quickly as he can and hoping that no one else comes back. Maybe they'll along the pace behind him. But, you know, it does look like this group is going to come back, or at least some of the riders in this group are going to come back. There's probably a few legs hurting as well here. But, you know, you'd think that there is at least one rider who's got the energy and who's got the legs left to attack on that final climb and get back up to this man.
We're coming up to it now in the next couple of kilometres. Turn right here, briefly downhill. And in a change from the time tunnel course, there's a further left turn to come. Again, a lot of nervous looking around here. Better move this time on that last climb from Walker, the British champion. Of course, he'd already been distanced, hadn't he, towards the end in what happened over the top of the last climb and then the big break up on the way into the finish line. Make sure he was at the front and he was with Kristen. Now here's Herzog, and this is pretty predictable on the downhill sections, isn't it?
Yeah, that's one of the patterns we've seen. If it's going downhill, we see Emil Herzog at the front. The mountain biker, road cyclist, one of the bigger talents as well. Of course, these riders, to be in this front group, you have to be one of the best, and yeah.
One of the stars of the day, I have to say. Distracting from the bike racing, I know, but we're into about the 5th or 6th different outfit there. Brilliant. And that Wallabies flag is a constant. Rugby fan and now a bike fan. And fan maybe of this man, because she's seen him come and attack right in front of her house several times. And Antonio Morgado is at it again. 21 seconds, they'll be gaining on him, but he's fighting, he's working. He is such a good watch, whatever happens.
And he's not standing still either, so and for him it's just, you know, maybe he won't get over the top of this climb on his own at the front, but if he could just hang on to the few riders that come past him, that would be already quite impressive. And to be honest, you know, if that gap's correct, 24 seconds, it's not coming down really.
And there's no big moves or attacks this time from here, is there? They all look like they're on the last legs a little.
Yeah, gaps opening up there behind the first sort of 5 or 6 riders. It's Herzog pushing up the pace, but not getting away quite yet.
The leader here getting over the hardest gradients. Antonio Morgado looks around, sees a fleet of motorbikes, and then a smaller group. The Americans dropped again. Predictable, really, given how much they've put into this race. They've ridden hard. Jan Christen may be the surprise here. He's dropped off this group. We have Herzog, then Nordhagen. Then you have Thibaut Gruel, all chasing this man. Hersing was in there as well.
Yeah, but I have to say, it looks like he's holding on. You know, the gap's just not coming down, and no one does seem to have any energy left. So I think if this man gets over the top with those 15, 20 seconds that he's still got, then you know, he's still pushing on. He's still going fast, and no one else. You know, this group is just disintegrating on the pace of Emil Herzog, and they're not going faster. That's the weird part about it.
Well, he's over the top there. You can see first chasing group still has to go onto that final ramp. He's going to make that right turn now and head into that very steep downhill, the roller coaster section, as Herzog is looking one of the stronger riders of the rest. Gruel is there. Nordhagen as well, but now Hersing is also being dropped.
Yeah, it's just 3 riders left, but the gap's still 20 seconds. And yeah, I just can't see that gap coming back. The way Morgado is riding, he's been stronger than anyone else this race. He's attacked so many times, and yeah, this has to be a really spectacular downhill for Emil Herzog to come back to that.
Well, if Morgado can hold on here, he's certainly going to shoot straight down. My question and theory about whether anybody could carry an attack over the top and go solo to the finish. He's starting well, but look at Herzog. He's on a mission here.
Yeah, it's just, I think most of these riders at the front have done some mountain biking in their past, but Herzog has been the one who's shown that he's the most impressive one in the downhills. At least he's pushed the pace in most of the downhills we've seen in the last couple laps. So if he is willing to take the risks, he could come a lot closer, and then it's just about who's got the better legs on the flat in towards the finish.
Looks as though he is eating into this gap. Again, he's a slightly heavier rider on the downhill, it seems. He's excellently positioned, as you can see. And he does have those skills, as you mentioned. 10 seconds now. Here's Morgado. 6.5 kilometers remain in the men's junior world championship road race. Antonio Morgado, who has put in a swashbuckling ride so far today for Portugal, hoping to become the first ever Portuguese men's junior world champion. But he's being chased. He has Emil Herzog, one of the pre-race favourites. He's the German. He's at 11 seconds. Then at 19 seconds here, you have Nordhagen in the red. And then the man from France, Cruel. Here's your leader, though. 6 kilometers to go.
Yeah, so Herzog has really come quite a lot closer in that descent, and now it's just going to be a race towards the finish line. Morgado looks like he's hurting, but it's now just about holding on, spinning out that gear as hard as you can, because the restricted gears mean that you can only go so fast. So if Morgado is able to hold it at like 45 to 46 kilometers an hour on the flat, then there's very little chance that Herzog can come back. But Morgado has invested so much energy. He should be empty by this stage, but he's still continuing to go on, and it's a really, really impressive ride.
Yeah, the risk of sounding like a stock record. I'm going to repeat it I know we've got people tuning in and out because of the time zone, certainly in Europe, but you might be seeing the cadences here and the restricted gears you talked about. This is the final year of restricted gears at junior level, certainly the World Championships. It's a 52-40 maximum gear they can pedal at the moment. But that will be that at the end of this calendar year. We're approaching 5Ks to go, and this is the situation on the screen. 10 seconds from Morgado to this man, Emil Herzog of Germany. 23 seconds from Morgado to the other two chasers. And ever so quickly, this race is coming to the finale.
Yeah, I think there were some speculations about sprinters making it over this climb with, early in the year, Caleb Ewan slated to be the next world champion, but I really don't see, with the way this race has gone, that any pure sprinter is going to make it across, because it's been such a hard race, and just seeing ones and twos come in at the finish line in this race, so certainly would have to be a very, very different sort of race for any race to devolve into a sprint at the end.
You and I have another race to watch later this morning, don't we? The under-23 road race for the men. But like you say, at the minute, it certainly looks like a parkour that is seeing more action out the trapdoor rather than out the front of the race.
Yeah, gap's now coming down. I'm not quite sure if it's coming down that quickly, but up this motorway bridge, it's actually a group coming together with this is probably for third place, with most of the group regrouping now, but it's the two riders at the front, Morgado and Herzog. It's a battle between those two for the win.
Yep, this group is going to be at 30 seconds from the lone leader, and Herzog has the leader in his sights. What a ride is on the downhill, with the skills on show from Emil Herzog. He now has to have the power over the final 4 kilometers of flat, just less now, to get Morgado back.
Yeah, it's coming down slowly, but it seems to be mostly in the corners, and there's not a lot of corners left. It's 5 or 6 seconds, and yeah, it's just about who has the legs now, and who's gonna come across that gap. Is Emil Herzog able to do it, or is Morgado gonna hold on? And then if he does come across, it's gonna be about the sprint legs, and we haven't really talked about that. There's no. I certainly know that both of the riders can sprint a little bit, but after such a hard race, you have to wonder: is it really going to be a sprint, or is it just about who's got anything left to accelerate at the end of this race?
He's getting closer and closer by the pedal stroke. There's more and more looking around as well for Morgado, who's trying his best to find every little bit of a slipstream of those motorbikes he can. But Emil Herzog is coming here like a train. In this shot, Morgado gets bigger and bigger, and that's that. He knows he's about to have company. 3Ks to go.
Yeah, it's interesting. He's given up, or at least he's decided that it's not worth it to keep going anymore. And yeah, might have decided that with that gap behind so big that he's he's happy to let it go to a sprint.
Well, a little conversation there from Herzog and Morgado, agreeing to ride together as we now look at Walker.
Yeah, Walker trying to get a move on for third place, but you see these riders are just too empty to really attack anymore. And yeah, it's they're all incredibly tired. It's just two riders who've got anything left in the legs, and that's the two at the front.
2.4Ks to go. 40 seconds to the next group. You're looking at first and second, ever so likely here, unless there's the mother of all cat and mouse games. Of course, Germany, having won this race 8 years ago with Jonas Bocaro. Portugal have never ever won the men's junior road race.
The next obstacle is going to be that small climb up to Clifford Road. It's very short, but it might just be enough to break someone. And it's interesting to see now if Morgado is going to take a turn, because the gap is really big enough to play some kind of cat and mouse game. It's only 2 kilometers to go. They've got 40 seconds. They can lose quite a lot. They don't have to push on, but they are pushing on at the moment.
Third hour, the second slowest, but it's been certainly packed full of entertainment. 1.5 Ks to go from here. And there's the move. Herzog catching Morgado, but what's the Portuguese got left in the tank?
Well, the climb's coming up. They're making it a very long climb, long effort, but Morgado is responding to this attack by Emil Herzog, and Herzog doesn't get away.
Surprised he had anything left in the legs there, because the initial reaction, you're wondering, it looked as though the move might have gone, but credit where credit's due here to Morgado. And now he's probably it on. Let's see. And the opportunity to attack is coming up here, isn't it? Has Herzog just shot his only bullet? Let's see.
Yeah, I think with the results this year, Morgado probably can be confident in the sprint. If he's got anything left in the legs, he managed to accelerate back onto the wheel of Herzog just now. And yeah, I think Herzog is probably, we saw it just now, he attacked, and Morgado seems to be happy to let this go to a sprint.
57 seconds they have. Germany, Portugal. Herzog, Morgado. From Morgado, it's been swashbuckling, entertaining stuff. Herzog rode the descent of his life, using every little bit of his ability. A superb ride, combative and brave. A full gas race from start to finish. Junior racing at his best. And we're now ready for the first road racing rainbow jersey of these Wollongong Worlds. They turn into the final section. There's that left and right still to go. The little chicane, up to 300 meters to go. Then they'll see the finish line. Morgado waits. It's Herzog who's at the front. Now they go to 300 to go. First little check. Looking behind, it's going to be Herzog who's going to be forced to lead this one out. Here goes Morgado off the wheel now. 220 meters to go. 200 to go. It's Morgado on the left-hand side in the red. Morgado's there, but Herzog's not out of it yet. Herzog on the right and the white. It's going to be neck and neck all the way to the finish. They're coming to the line. Herzog gets to the front.
Shit.
Led out here by one of the Americans, Vigor Moore, for Artem Schmidt. And here he goes on the left-hand side. An opportunity to get on that podium. France have their rider in there as well. Schmidt is up there, remember, having been in the breakaway early on for Mechelen through the centre, though. Here comes Van Mechelen for Belgium. Van Mechelen will do it. It'll be a bronze for Belgium. Vlad Van Mechelen in third place. Behind two of the top entertainers, Jens Dekker, Emil Herzog. Deserve that. What a ride.
Yeah, it was an incredible sprint, very evenly matched with the two strongest riders in this race, and then a third place for Vlad van Mechelen, the best sprinter of that chasing group. Really great race, great racing all through, and here we see the replay of that sprint.
Absolutely exceptional. Morgado waited and waited, didn't he? He played it how he had to play it. But Herzog, you wondered how confident he was with that attack early on. Morgado, maybe he opened up a little early, but Herzog, the man who brings home the bacon, the world champion is from Germany. He is Emil Herzog. What a win. Bronze the other day in the time trial, and now a gold and a rainbow jersey. Can't ask for much better than that at the World Championships.
No, definitely not. It's been a great race, great event for him, and I mean also for us. We've seen really incredible racing. I think if you haven't seen the whole thing, definitely go back and watch it, because it's been attacking all the way with lots of big names of the future, the big stars that we will see in maybe 4 or 5 years, maybe even sooner. These two definitely put their name on the map for the future of cycling.
Emil Herzog, Antonio Morgado, the latter having lit up the race, the former having been regular, consistent, and I think you can say he raced with real intelligence. Did what his leg allowed him, but that move on the descent showed his skills, and with the sprint in the finale, you're looking at a proper bike racer.
Yeah, you have to sort of wonder that move with, what was it, 4 laps to go, where Morgado spent maybe 4 or 5 kilometers off the front on the flat. Is that what cost him there in that sprint? Yeah, I mean, we'll never know, of course, but maybe he invested just a bit too much at the start of this race, and came back to bite him in the end. But it was such an impressive race from him, holding on that climb after a pretty long solo ride. So I mean, he didn't win the race, but he can be proud of his effort, I think. Definitely one of the strongest rides I've seen in recent history, certainly in the junior category.
Incredible ride, an incredible race. I know many of you stayed up late, well into the night in Europe, and I think you'll have enjoyed it. It will have been worth it. Absolutely superb. Emil Herzog is the new champion of the world. Antonio Morgado is now a household name. This is how they finished together. Look at that, lined with supporters. First time we've seen this scene this week. First look at the fantastic course. We are in for 2.5 more days of raucous racing. And look at that. Vlad van Mechelen getting a good result as well. Belgium having another medal. Germany having another world title. And Portugal, for the first time in their history, in the men's junior section, have a medal.
Yeah, just looking at the standings, the finish there with 42.5 kilometers an hour. It's, given the climbing, the rain, the corners, it's really quite an incredible average speed, and just shows you how quick this race was.
Yeah, I want to say they've certainly come around it on what has been forecast as the fastest time scheduled by the organisers, roughly. And I think it gives us plenty to look forward to for the next few days, and well, later on as well, as we look forward to the under-23 race in, well, around half an hour or so's time. This is what happened in the sprint. We didn't need the photo, but here it is. Almost a full bike length for Emil Herzog. Antonio Morgado, by that point, was banging the bar as he knew that he was beaten. This is how it finally finished. Emil Herzog, world champion, ahead of Antonio Morgado. Vlad van Mechelen winning the sprint for 3rd place, with Magnier and Schmidt in the top 5. Great riders who had worked really hard for teammates as well. Hersing, Gruel, Ragilo, Walker, Novak. But it's Herzog, the world champ.
سنبت كحسينا جون بكيره قريبنا هنا سنبت.
That's how it was won. Let's have a look at the best of the action. Oh, it looked like a cross race, didn't it, at the start? Leg warmers, arm warmers being got rid of, the rain falling, start-finish arch. But I tell you what, there were longer laps, more climbing, and there was so much
Sen
incident, wasn't there?
Antovic.
Crash on the first lap, remember, that effectively ended opportunities for the likes of Max van der Merle, as well as Mari Voet of Belgium and the World Time Trial champion Tarling of Great Britain. Payur and Novak were out in the front. This is how it looked in the end. And a really strong group attacking the race. 6 riders were out there, including a man who didn't been involved in the early crash. Only second to Josh Tarling in the World Time Trial Championship. Hamish Mackenzie having quite the week. 2 riders from there from the United States. That was the end of Tarling's race. Brave effort. Plenty of nasty skin on show there. They've been left on the road. Nordhager moved. Morgado, already having shown himself, would move again. Another group started to form behind. And we were always looking at a changing situation in a race that didn't disappoint at all from start to finish. Front group were eventually taken back. But there weren't too many left behind, were there? And it looked a really attritional, aggressive race. No let up at all, save for maybe a 5-minute section on the penultimate lap. And then this happened. Morgado giving more. A lap and a half to go by that point. He forced a few more out the front. They were back together yet again. And he was continuing to work. But he came through to take the bell on his own. They looked around behind. They hesitated. And that gave the battle for the final lap. It proved to be a move that would get him on the podium. Almost brought him home the world title. He worked and worked. Behind, they hesitated and couldn't chase. Bigger groups got back on. And then over the top of the final climb, just when it looked like Morgado might survive, Emil Herzog took the corners like a speed demon. He then asked Morgado if he could win. Morgado put his own attack in. There was no agreement. Of course, there was never going to be an agreement. And as was right, they fought it out to the line. Morgado looking good, Herzog looking better, and he will be the world champion. Vlad van Mechelen will join them on the podium. Belgium taking another medal. But all the glory going to Emil Herzog, 17 years of age, from Simmerberg in Germany. And in Wollongong in Australia, making himself a name on the world stage. Oh, this is the photo for third place, of course not required. Easy sprint won by Vlad van Mechelen. And the men junior road race ending in fantastic fashion. So we've seen the race, we've seen the drama. Let's try and hear from the protagonists. They'll be off to receive their prize in a moment. But here he is, Emil Herzog.
Emil Herzog, congratulations. You just told us that you couldn't believe it. Why can't you believe it? After 2 amazing seasons at the junior level, why can you not believe it? You're a world champion.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, I worked so hard for this, and yeah, I think last year I had a bit of bad luck and all things like this, and then that today everything went perfect. I still can't believe it that everything worked out so well, and yeah, that I'm now world champion. That sounds so, yeah, unreal.
Can you take us through that final straight, that sprint with Antonio Morgado?
Yeah, it was, I think, the hardest sprint of my whole life. I saw when he started that he was right on the right side. We were side by side and all the time, and I just didn't stop. I waited till he stopped. I have a bit of gap, and I pedaled all the time. And I think I've never had a sprint like this, but yeah, that was worth it.
Did you know that that he had 40 seconds at a moment at the climb, at the top of the climb? He had 30 seconds. Were you worried about Antonio at the front?
Yes and no. I'm actually a friend with him. If he would not, if I would not have been so close to him, I would have rode. But yeah, we also are in the same agency and we know a bit each other. So I decided to save the energy a bit and yeah, on the climb to go all out.
A lot of prestigious German champions have won the world titles, either in time trials or road race. John Degenkolb, Marcel Kittel. What does it mean to be one of them, a world champion?
Actually, I don't know. I think, yeah, like I said, I still can't believe it. It's the biggest thing you can achieve as a junior. Yeah, it's just, yeah, I don't have words. Unbelievable.
I
think I will need some days.
And I'm sure you'll keep a very good memory of Australia, despite the weather.
Yeah, I like this weather. I like racing in the rain. I don't like it when it's too hot. But I think this I will never forget. It's just world champion. You don't get world champion every day.
Well, enjoy the podium. Thank you very much.
Lovely to hear from the world champion, Emil Herzog. This is how he did it. And he will sit on top of the world. Of course, riders who knew each other well. Explanation there. And that's why we saw the great, fantastic camaraderie between them after the finish. Germany has a gold medal at these Worlds. Let's see what all that action there has done to the medal table. It's taken Germany to third place. They have a gold, a silver, 2 bronze. They're flying. Portugal on the list in 9th place. A silver, first ever medal in that particular category. And a 3rd bronze for Belgium, who are getting close, but still no rainbow jersey. Great Britain top, Germany in 3rd with Norway right in the middle of them. Those 2 gold medals from the time trials. Emil Herzog, the world champion, ahead of Antonio Morgado. Flood for Mechelen in 3rd place. Look down into 6th place there, Menno Hersing. Time we got some reaction from him and the Dutch camp. 6th place finisher. Let's hear from Menno Hersing.
Tell us about the race. The plane has been checked up with crashes from the beginning. Tell us about it.
Yeah, directly very hectic, a lot of rain. Max crashed for our team the first lap in the descent. He crashed really hard. Luckily, he came back the lap after it. Yeah, I have to make a big shout out to him. We were as the 2 leaders of the team, big favorites, I think. But he said directly to me, "It's now for you, and I will go completely empty for you." I have to thank him a lot. Everything went like we planned until 4 laps ago. I made a terrible mistake by not jumping one time with a breakaway. Because of that, I had to chase for an entire lap. I think I lost the race over there. The round after I came back, but yeah, I was already empty, survived the climb. 2 laps to go, I had to chase again after the climb. Yeah, I came back again, and then I had a good feeling to the last climb. I recovered well. But out of nowhere, I cramped on the first climb of the two. Made the best of it on the last climb. Came back till the fight for the bronze medal. But again, waited a little bit too long. Group came back and that fucked up my sprint. I think fit now. I'm not really satisfied with it, but I think it's the best of today with mistakes I made. Again, big thanks to the team, especially to Max. Thank you.
Apologies if you're offended by any of the language in the interview. Inherently understandable, speaking straight after a race and in a second language. Good race, though, from Hersing. Good race from these two. Exceptional. And only the final sprint could split them up. You wonder, did Morgado do too much? That will be the question that will be repeatedly asked, I'm sure. He certainly entertained us. Herzog rode the perfect race. He is, as a result, the world champion. And despite the obvious disappointment for Morgado, there was the sporting gesture. Time for us to go back into the top 10 again and get more reaction. Here's Zach Walker, the British junior champion.
Zach, tell us about your race. I guess the plan has been checked up quite quickly with the crash of Joshua. Tell us how it went.
Yeah, so on the first lap, on the descent it was pretty wet, and Josh was just next to me, and I see him fall pretty hard, and yeah, so that was a bit of a blow. But I figured because it was quite wet and miserable, sometimes it's just better being up front and out of trouble. And before the race I'd planned to wait a bit, but I always get carried away, so yeah, so I ended up off the front pretty early on.
And how you managed your race? The front was quite tactical. It was also hard course. So how you managed your race when you were at the front?
Yeah, it was quite nice off the front actually, because we got to take the climb pretty easy. I struggled a bit on the fast part because I've not got as big of an engine as some of the other guys, but yeah, but then going up the climb I could just tap up my own rhythm, and yeah, just kind of felt better as it went on really. Got to take our own lines through the corners and not have to stress too much on the descent, so although it was a long shift off the front, you avoided kicking up the climb severely every lap.
Happy with your result at the end? With your race at least?
Yeah, I'm happy enough. Obviously would have wanted to get a podium. There was two off the front. I didn't have the legs to go with them. I tried to attack my group a few times, but nah, nothing was happening, so just squeezed as hard as I could in the sprint, which isn't the best, but yeah, hanged on to whatever I could. I'm not sure what I was actually.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're about to debut a brand new UCI podium hymn, apparently. Might be it playing in the background, I think. We've had the fanfare until now, haven't we? End up a bit like the Champions League anthem, this, isn't it? They'll be desperate to hear it once it gets well known. Here is the podium. Vlad van Mechelen, right-hand side in Belgian colours. Antonio Morgado in that Portuguese white, red and green jersey. And in the centre, the man will be hearing his national anthem soon. Das Lied der Deutschen, the song of the Germans. Take German world champion.
World Championships Men Junior Road Race. Les médailles et le maillot seront présentés par Monsieur Tony Mitchell, membre du comité directeur de
Well, Tony Mitchell from the UCI Management Committee member is alongside Cadel Evans, former Tour de France winner. They'll be presenting medals and bouquets.
Représentant la Belgique. In third place and winner of the bronze medal representing Belgium, Vlad van Mechelen.
Vlad van Mechelen looks delighted with his medal. Great to see. Well, he entered a tough race, a really difficult race, and van Mechelen, again, following a lot. Belgium didn't have a great day, but he's every right to be delighted with that.
Portugal. In second place, and winner of the silver medal, representing Portugal, Antonio Morgado.
And here's Antonio Morgado, the entertainer. Man's full of energy, and somebody who I'm sure we will enjoy in action once he turns professional. But here's the world champ.
First place, world champion and winner of the UCI gold medal, representing Germany, Emil Herzog.
And Emil Herzog, it's his moment, it's his time, on top of the world, down under. And he cannot wait to get that rainbow jersey on. Jens, you've been here, junior world champion. What's the feeling?
Well, it's hard to describe, of course. It's you know, a lot of emotions and a lot of you know, it's concentrating on that race is already difficult enough, and then you get the emotion of winning, which I mean, I'm sure you didn't fully expect it. So it's you know, you hoped for it, of course, but yeah, it's a really special feeling, and not many people get to enjoy it this way.
And here's a popular Australian, Cadel Evans, winner of the Tour de France, former mountain biker himself as well. Remember, he almost won the Giro debut as well. What a career he had. And there's the family photograph. Emil Herzog at the head of the table. Struggling to believe exactly what happened. You have another memento to remember the occasion. There's the timepiece. And he finished in the quickest time by a bike length. And in his honour, it is time to listen to the German national anthem, as Emil Herzog is the world champion. What a race. What a way to sell this sport. Entertainment until the end. Morgado, entertainer-in-chief. Herzog, the man who took the win. And Vlad van Mechelen, best of the rest. Wonderful moment for Herzog, almost in disbelief as he looked around. He is a world champion. And there's a few more to be crowned just yet. Let's take a quick look at what's coming up later today, over the next couple of days. Well, the weekend starts here, doesn't it? 4:50, just under an hour from now. That's 3:50 if you're in UK, Ireland, Portugal. That's the men.